Hey, everybody. Welcome to Quest Leadership Live. I want to give you a second to jump on here. Thanks for joining me today. I'm excited to talk to you about what it was on my heart to talk to you about where it concerns kids and leadership. Why don't you take a quick second, if you would, and just click the share button. Share this out with your friends, those who maybe are mentors, coaches, leaders, teachers. Just today, I'm going to take some time to encourage them where it concerns building strong young leaders. So thanks for joining me here on today's Facebook Live. We're going to talk about the idea that every kid can be a leader. So thanks for joining me as we get started here. So as I mentioned, we're going to talk today about the idea that every kid can be a leader. And I'm excited to kind of dive into this with you. I want to begin with a story, maybe a little bit of entertainment for you. I don't know. We'll see. Jury's kind of out on that. But last year, I had the chance to travel to Quito, Ecuador with a group from Compassion International. We went there for several days to kind of see the work that Compassion was doing in country there, which is absolutely phenomenal work. And I look forward to sharing more about that with you in the future. But while we were there, one night at dinner, we had a group of young men come in. They were in their 20s and 30s, and they were a band, and they played traditional Ecuadorian music, and it was absolutely amazing. In fact, I've been looking for the footage. If I can find the footage, maybe I'll play some for you here on the show in the future. But they played just some original music that they had written, and it was absolutely phenomenal. And what was powerful about the whole story is that all the members of the band had grown up and come through the Compassion International system and process. That's simply what Compassion does, is it gives kids a chance to engage in a higher level of learning and a higher level of engagement. It helps kids that are in impoverished situations to connect to education, and specifically through the local church. It's an absolutely phenomenal program. But all of these young men had stories to tell about their journey through Compassion, how as kids, you're talking about 6, 7, 8 years old, that these kids were a part of the Compassion process, and that because of that, they had grown up to become musicians, leaders, dads, business owners, you name it. And the stories were just so powerful. And one of the instruments that the lead guy, the band lead, played is a charango. And this, so I love instruments. When I travel like that, I like to try to grab cool stuff. And so this was what he played, was one of these. And so as soon as I saw him playing that, I was like, I got to have one of those. So I talked to him after dinner, and we just kind of chatted a little bit about his journey, everything that had impacted him. He talked about the importance of the letters that his sponsor would send, along with the gift that would allow him to be able to go to school. And was just so powerful to hear him say that the letters from the sponsor and all the encouragement that they received through that relationship was what really allowed him to have hope for a future and to grow into now someone who travels internationally, singing and kind of being a spokesperson for Compassion and the work of Compassion around the world. Incredible story. And so the charango is what he played. Now, I'm not a charango player. I do play music. Kind of grew up in a musical family, so it's not hard to pick something up and learn a little bit. But thankfully, this thing is tuned in such a way that all I got to do is, play a little bit, and you can kind of figure some stuff out and have some fun. But the reason I show you the charango and I talk about this story is because what I've run into over the years, where it concerns developing young students and helping them to find their leadership groove and build character, self-expectation, and those types of things, is that there's this common sense, there's this idea that kids have to have a certain set of skills in order to be a part of a leadership training system. In other words, when I say, hey, we're gonna help you build strong leaders out of young students, immediately most mentors, coaches, teachers begin to think, well, what students do I know that have leadership ability? And I've heard in conversations, though, sometimes they'll say, well, I don't know about that student because they're not really a leader. Well, the truth is, and this is really what I want to lean on today, is that every kid can be a leader. And there's a danger in the exclusive mindset, that mindset of exclusivity that ends up excluding students that certainly have the material, the raw materials and the ingredients to be a great leader. What they need is someone to believe in them, someone to support them, someone to equip them, someone to mentor them, someone to draw out the greatness that's inside of them, someone who will help to see past the hurt, the trauma maybe that they've experienced, the hard times that they're experiencing, see past the attitude in some situations, see past the pushback, and believe in them until they begin to draw out and develop those leadership abilities. Now, the truth is that if we look at students on face value, that, yeah, as adults, oftentimes there are things we look at and go, I don't feel like dealing with that. I'm not going to put up with that. If they don't already have the qualities of humility and participation and common sense and all those things that we would describe as the materials of leadership, then I don't have the energy to put the effort in. And the truth is, that's really the narrative. The narrative is not, this kid's not a leader or doesn't have what it takes to be a leader. It's, I don't have what it takes to draw out of them as a leader. I know that might be hard to hear, but it's true. And the good news about that, though, is also, yeah, we do. We actually can do that. We actually can draw leadership out of them, even though there may be a clash between our personality and their personality, even though we may look at them and say, I don't know if they have the goods to be a leader. They're in there. It's just going to take some adjustments on our part to draw them out. And I think about this young man there in Quito, Ecuador, as he was performing, and they were phenomenal. They're fantastic. I mean, the music was wow. And I really enjoy music. So it's like, to sit and listen to them was just crazy in that setting and being live and how good they sounded, about 8 of them. And then to hear the story on top of that here these young men are coming from disadvantaged backgrounds. Some situations they had no resources. They were just barely getting by, no food. I mean, sparse living conditions. And I mean, like major league Spartan living conditions. And to overcome all of that is an example of, and the proof that every student can achieve, every student can excel. What they need is the right environment. What they need is the right person to believe in them. And think about this. I'm not talking about the right environment in terms of perfection and all resources available to you at all times. I'm talking about developing a sense of grit, determination, critical thinking, all the things that we talk about now, the executive functioning that our kids need to really succeed in life. If you have those ingredients, if you have someone that believes in you and will help to build those ingredients into you and draw out the things that are in you, your personality, your skills, your gifts, your passions, then you can become something more than if you didn't have that, if you didn't have someone that believed in you. And so believing in these students is honestly the foundational key ingredient to them becoming great leaders. The question is, what does that take for us to do that? How do we look beyond the cliche and the surface response of, I don't think this student has leadership material or leadership ability, and recognize, yeah, they do. It's in there. Every kid can be a leader. In fact, I argue every kid is a leader. On some level, every kid influences someone else in their lives, even if they're only influencing their own thinking, which they are. Leading themselves is a huge part of life success. Being able to think critically and self-expect, self-navigate, set and achieve goals. That's leadership. And so it begins with us recognizing and embracing, just like the young man with the charango, and like I say, I can't play this, but you know what? I had enough music opportunity put in me when I was young to have a little bit, enough skill, rhythm, and those kinds of things to be able, if I really applied myself, I could learn to play the charango. But he early on had someone that believed in him and pulled those skills out of him, and he learned and developed and grew in this ability, and now is influencing people around the world. And there's story after story after story just like that. My question for you today is, how many of those stories are around you? How many of those students are around you that just need someone to believe, yes, they can be a leader, and will be willing to lean in regardless of the conflict of personalities, regardless of just the friction sometimes it creates and just dealing with young students, and say, you know what, I'm going to believe in them, and I'm going to push them, I'm going to pull out of them what the greatness that's in them. That's what it takes. Every student can be a leader. Let's settle that today. Let's remove the cliche. Let's take the cliche out of the way, that obstacle of that cliche that says, well, they don't have leadership ability, they don't have the skills, I'm not sure they can do it, they're not capable. So we have to handpick the ones that we feel like we can work with to help them become a leader. And what we do is we exclude so many great leaders as a result. So many of those kids are probably the greatest leader in your school, in your church, in your organization, around you. And you need someone to believe in them, someone who'll be willing to go the extra mile and be that mentor, that coach, that leader. I believe it's you. I believe it's me. But it begins with that idea. Hey, every kid can be a leader. And that's what I wanted to share with you today, just to encourage you on this journey of coaching and being a mentor. What can you do to stir that belief in you when it's most difficult, when you're being yelled at, when you're being called names, when they're not listening? How can you stir? What will you do to stir that constant belief, that undeniable, unsinkable faith that every student can be a leader? I want you to think about that. We're going to talk about that in the future more, but I want to encourage you today. Thank you for doing the work. Thank you for leaning in and being a voice in this next generation. We need it now more than ever. We need people that believe more than ever. We need them to believe in the next generation, that these students can become quality people that lead and influence, people of character and integrity. It's going to take me and you to believe in them. So let's do it. Come on. Every kid can be a leader. Thanks for listening in today. I'd love to hear your feedback on this topic. You can message me here on Facebook through our Quest Leadership Facebook page. And until next time, keep building strong young leaders.